So this is the new project. It's got pretty good bones. It's got some cosmetic issues for sure, like needs a new paint job, needs new interior, desperately needs tune up, like the oil, the coolant, all that needs to be done. Probably gonna be one of the first things I do on this. But pretty excited about this. Gonna try to replace the carpets, at least that's the plan currently. You know, obviously replace all the seats. Put some seat covers up there. Probably get a new top as well. It's been raining. Went to push the water off that pooled in there. Kind of went all over the seats, got me a little bit wet. You know, typical. It's gonna come with the territory with one of these, but you know, it would be nice to have something that can cover it properly in the rain. Plans to also get some vinyl paint and get these to be a little bit, you know, more vibrant. Restore those, get those plastics nice and taken care of. Also going to try to fix some of the wiring things that are going on here. I don't really like what previous owner did for some stuff. It's like we just kind of got things haphazardly thrown about, and underneath the seats we can see the speakers just kind of chilling there. Easier to see on the other side. So yeah, I'm going to try to fix that. These are the switches for the spotlights and for the light bar. Gonna try to figure out how those are wired in. I think that they're currently just headed straight to battery, because you can see, you know, Jeep's off, no key in the ignition, but those lights are still on, and those just stay on. So I don't want the battery to end up dying with those just being on constantly 24/7. But you know, pretty stoked to see how this ends up going. Gonna have to get another wheel for the back so I can have everything matching. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be doing bigger wheels yet. Probably gonna keep them the same. See what the biggest tires I can run on those will be. Just typical. Might do a lift. I don't have to look into what that's gonna entail. You have to replace some other components when you do that. But over here, kind of get a better idea of what I'm talking about with the, maybe you can't. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, cut that little bit out so I can give you guys a seizure. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about with the speakers back there. They're just chilling under the seat. There's an amp back here as well, which I don't think really works. I think it's wired directly to the battery as well. There's one wire in the engine compartment that I think routes back to here. So realistically, what I'm probably going to do is get rid of the amp, get rid of the speakers that are currently just chilling underneath the seats like that, and you know, replace the head unit itself. The white head unit's not going to match with the black and tan interior. But once I get rid of all that, I'll end up replacing it with something that mounts to the top of these roll bars, and there's little speaker housings that you can put up there, and then have the speakers sit in there, and you can just wire them along where the roll bars are, and then have that come down into where everything else is down here. Now, something that I am a little bit worried about is, and this isn't something I noticed until after I picked this up, is behind the dashboard we have a bunch of wires that have just been kind of cut. I think those are probably for the head unit, but you know, can't say for certain, but we'll figure that out. So in here, nothing looks too crazy, it's just dirty, as you'd expect. I opened up the coolant the other day, and that's pretty gross. Like, all the brown stuff you see is just the residual from that coolant. So a flush of this is going to be absolutely necessary. I'm planning on opening up, like removing this upper radiator hose and trying to look in there, if it looks like the arteries of someone who's been eating nothing but McDonald's for the last 30 years, then I'm probably just going to do a complete change of most of the coolant system, like change out the radiator, all the hoses, water pump. Excuse me. The only thing that probably wouldn't get changed out is the heater core. But yeah, so just kind of still determined. I do have something to flush the system with, and that's going to be one of the very first things I do besides the oil change. So that's pretty high on the priority list. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with stuff just being wired directly to the battery and then just kind of snake it along. Like I said, I think that is for the amp, which the amp doesn't work. And then we've got, these little fuses wired in here, which I noticed this before I picked it up. It's like nice and melted. Not a huge fan of that, so I'll probably replace these with some of my own. I might even try to change how these are wired. I haven't looked too thoroughly at it yet because I've been waiting to make this intro video before I touch it at all. I haven't even cleaned it really before I really did anything to it. But yeah, so gonna see how I can rewire those lights, because I don't like how those are always on. Do a nice coolant flush, change out all the sensors. So temperature sensor, the thermostat, that's going to get changed out as well, because this thing doesn't actually register when it's warmed up. Like, it gets to like a quarter of the way. So I think we've got some sensor issues, which, seeing how nasty the coolant is, I'm not at all surprised. And then just kind of clean it. Probably get a pressure washer, just cover the electronics, just spray it in here a little bit, use some engine degreaser, spray it again. Just kind of hit it as many times as it needs. But yeah, I'm excited. Like, it's got good bones. It's a few hiccups, but obviously it's kind of what I was expecting. It's a project truck. So another potential issue too is there's an airbag light that's on the dash, but the horn also doesn't work. So when Jeep's on, or when it's in accessory, press the horn, nothing goes off. So I'm wagering it's probably a clock spring. Although, I'll have to replace it and just see. I'm going to just part swap it, to be honest with you. I have a pretty fancy scan tool, but it's a X tool. Apparently the X tools don't work with this generation of Wrangler. It's a 97, and I guess that's just kind of funky stuff with the X tool and the older generations. I think when these first became OBD2, they had still some old lingerings of using some older systems that are just not as well adapted with the X tool. Apparently you need an autel. So I can't exactly see what that code's for, but I'm just going to replace the clock spring, because like I said, horn doesn't work, airbag lights on. Forums are saying likely probably a clock spring issue, so we're going to start there. But yeah, besides that, I think that's mainly it. It's pretty gross in here, so now that I've done this video, I can get to cleaning it. Can't wait to get these seats out of here, because it's gross. I don't even like driving it right now, because every time I sit in here I almost feel like there's fiberglass kind of going into my skin or something. Which, probably partly because of this too. It's pretty torn up in there too. But yeah, I think this is going to be a nice little project. Alright guys, so we are back after having just done our oil change. Got our new oil filter right down in there. Got all of our old goodies right here. So we are done with that. So, nice little basic piece of maintenance done. So next thing I want to do is check out how bad the coolant system is. So I have a feeling that this is going to be awful. Like, this is going to be real nasty. So when we look in here, I think we tried looking at it earlier. Hopefully this doesn't blow up on me, because I just had it running to check the oil. Didn't get its operating temperature, but who knows. Okay, we're good. So looking down in there, that's pretty gross. Like, it's real nasty. And when I squeezed on this a second ago, like, it feels crunchy inside. Like, I have a feeling this is going to be absolute just kind of foobar, and we're going to have to just replace the entire system. But, we're going to find that out together. So I'm going to turn this off real quick, put it on the tripod, and we're going to make that discovery together. Alright, so I've got our upper radiator hose loosened right here. So we're going to see what it looks like when we take it off. It's going to be the first time I've seen it too, so it'll be a nice surprise for both of us. Maybe it won't be as bad as I think it is. Maybe it will be. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Okay. Okay, so not gonna lie, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, at least in terms of the buildup. Let me see if I can get a light in there, show you guys a little bit better. The thing that is pretty bad though is the pipe, like the, sorry, the hose. This is gonna be fun to do. So the hose quality itself is honestly pretty abysmal. So in here, we have just a very unfocused mess for one. But in here we just have like a lot of stuff flaking off. So the lining of it isn't terribly covered with junk, but like, you can hear that. Like that's literally just the hose kind of corroding in on itself. Like, yeah, you can see like the pieces of the hose that just all came out. And don't worry, there's like a bucket catching all that stuff down there. But yeah, so like that's the inside of the hose. So, you know, probably still need to replace the coolant system, but it's not quite as built up as I thought it was. It's just deteriorated rubbers essentially.